OPEC cutting production by 2 million barrels a day, OPEC plus, which involves more countries outside of just the Gulf states. But of course, the leaders of OPEC really are those Gulf states, especially Saudi Arabia. And they control about half the energy production in the world when it comes to oil. And the Biden administration supposedly was working for this not to happen. This also involves Russia. So I want to bring Rick Grenell in right away because one, Rick, right off the top, for everybody listening, this is going to affect them yet again in the pocketbook right away. I mean, they're already starting to see gas prices go up. This was the White House was hoping it would at a most be like 1 million barrels a day cut, and they announced a 2 million barrel a day cut.
Look, one of the problems that we've seen from the Biden administration from the beginning is an inability to see that supply is the issue, that they must increase the supply in order to bring the price down. What they've tried to do is really manipulate the market in every possible way, getting OPEC involved, trying to lower prices through a short-term political manipulation. I think all economists are seeing what's happening. They're draining the strategic reserves to pretend like we have more supply when we are just using up the strategic reserves. This means that they're manipulating the price in order to get through the elections, and then quickly thereafter, there won't be any other choice than to see the skyrocketing of gas prices. We will see skyrocketing gas prices after the November elections. They have shown their cards, and this political manipulation by Washington, D.C. politicians has got to stop. The reason it keeps going, we've talked about this, of the manipulations at DOJ and FBI and now through the economy and gas prices, is because the media doesn't push back on Democrats. And when the media doesn't push back, the lesson that the Democrats learn is they can keep going and keep getting more outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, Rick, what's interesting here is how the media's report this is, well, it's really the Saudis, and they're standing up with Putin, and they did rebuke Biden on this, and the administration was hoping it be that OPEC wouldn't do this. But when you were acting director of national intelligence, when you were ambassador to Germany under the Trump administration, we didn't have to rely on OPEC anymore. We didn't have to rely on Russia anymore. We were a net exporter of energy just a couple years ago.
Yeah, and that's what's really sad is that this supply issue can easily be solved by us, by America. We have the ability to supply our needs. And what we were able to do with even LNG and gas to become an energy exporter was literally ended by the Biden administration. We ended pipelines. We ended gas exploration drilling in a significant way. And yet, we saw the Biden administration and Senate Democrats drop the Trump sanctions on the Russian pipeline into Europe. Literally, both domestically and internationally, the Biden team has messed it up on both sides when it comes to supply.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Rick, because Saudi Arabia really does lead this, and they've become a fairly close ally of the United States, but there was some bad blood with the Biden administration on some issues, and then President Biden went there to try to repair that, and the way this is being portrayed in the media is also that this is a move of OPEC towards Russia. So, how big of a failure is this by the Biden administration that not only is OPEC basically ignoring the United States, but they're also, in a sense, helping to bail out Russia?
I would even go a little bit further, Jordan. I would say that there's a rejection of the Biden team. Remember that OPEC was considering a cut of 1 million barrels a day. And then what we saw is the Biden administration come out very publicly and say, we're going to launch an effort to stop that. We're not going to support 1 million barrels a day being cut. And so they pressured OPEC. We saw lots of diplomacy from the Biden team going on. And what happened is OPEC cuts oil output by 2 million barrels a day. So they literally did the opposite of what the Biden team was trying to push. And I think that there's a recognition internationally that when Biden asks to do something like drop the Russian sanctions on the pipeline, on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, that we should do the opposite. Do the opposite of what Biden is asking, and you might help the situation.
One more kind of question on this, and then I want to move to another nuclear weapons issue. But just the sense of you talked about how you think what they will do is just keep releasing from the strategic reserve to try and keep the price down this next month, basically, is what they've got to try to do at the White House. So we might not see it all across the country, though some states are already, the numbers are going up. But that's their attempt here, is they'll kind of give that up and our security based off of that, drain that resource just to hope politically that they can keep the price down through November 8th.
Yeah, look, I would encourage people to go to my Twitter feed. It's at Richard Grenell. I shared a graph from the Department of Energy, which is the June to October 2022 forecast on the oil piggy bank, right? The strategic reserves, the oil that we have in our piggy bank. And it's plummeted. What is in our piggy bank for hard times is literally at near the bottom. You look at this graph and it falls off a cliff. And that is Joe Biden's administration using up our piggy bank of oil because he's trying to prop up prices as much as he can through November. They are running out of oil in the piggy bank. And this is a crisis. They're not thinking about increasing the supply here at home, but they are talking several months ago about trying to find oil from Venezuela and other places. What I don't understand is the same people who really care about the environment or say they care about the environment are willing to take oil that does not use the same technologies that we do when it comes out of the ground. It's dirtier. They're willing to use dirtier oil simply to make sure that America doesn't pump.
Yeah,
and that's an outrage.
Yeah, as our producer Will pointed out, the strategic reserve is at a 40-year low, inflation at a 40-year high. So we're going to watch this very closely. Rick, quickly, I want to get to this Poland nuclear issue. So Poland has put in a request to host U.S. nuclear weapons. And I do want to clear, there are other countries in Europe that do host U.S. nuclear weapons. But this Poland specifically here, borders Ukraine. What is your take on this situation? I mean, again, where the Biden administration is going to have to make some serious decisions.
Yeah, look, I think Poland offering to have the nuclear protection is a serious move. They obviously are feeling threatened. When I was U.S. ambassador to Germany, I used to always talk about the difference in the threat assessment between Europe and America. Europe doesn't believe that they are under the same threat assessment from Iran, for instance, from Russia, which is why they were doing this pipeline. And so we've just got to have a serious conversation about the threats that we all face. And I think Poland is having that conversation.
All right, Rick, as always, we appreciate you joining us.